So astral travel and lucid dreams. And I'll begin with this quote by Samuel Weor, which is really, I think, synthesizes the purpose of this class and the purpose of awakening the consciousness. So it links up to the last 4 classes that we've had on the awakening of the consciousness. If you missed those classes, I'm sorry you did, and I hope that you were able to catch the recordings, because astral travels, lucid dreams are directly related to how you live your daily lives, how you live every moment. And for that, you need to learn to practice mindfulness, to practice self-observation, self-remembering, to constantly checking your reality. We spent 2 weeks on this whole topic. So for those of you that were here for those classes, this is going to be, you're going to understand it easier. If you missed those classes, just let me know and I can send you the recording so you can catch up. All right. But as I was saying, Master Samuel Weor synthesizes the necessity or the purpose of astral travels and lucid dreams in this quote. He says, every truly awakened man or woman can see, hear, smell, touch, and feel all the things of the superior worlds. Occult science is studied in the internal worlds. Only by speaking personally with the masters can one know occult science. Okay? And Gnosis is referred to as the occult science. The esoteric teachings are in themselves occult, right? The word esoteric is synonymous to occult. The Gnosis is also occult. And so what do we mean by that? Occult science is a type of science that is not revealed or is not known by common people, by everyone, by the mass of society, right? And so we make a distinction between the esoteric and the exoteric, right? Every religious and spiritual tradition has its exoteric aspect and its esoteric aspects. And we've talked a little bit about this. I think I mentioned it when Jesus even spoke to his disciples. His disciples asked him at one point, why do you speak to them in parables? And he says, because to you,
Christian, there's no sound.
Hello? Am I online now? Okay, perfect. My battery died on my microphone. I thought I switched to the right ones, but I think I mixed them up. All right, well, we'll just use the computer microphone. All right, so I was just saying that there is the exoteric and the esoteric, right? Traditions, every spiritual and religious tradition has its exoteric and esoteric aspect. The esoteric aspect is let's say the instructions that are given to those that have gone through a special training. They are teachings that are not available to the masses, or that not necessarily not available, but that the mass of humanity does not know them, right? They haven't been what we refer to them as initiated into the mysteries. And I was saying that, I think this is when the mic went off, that this is why we see Jesus when his disciple asked him, why do you speak to them in parables, and to them, meaning to the masses, not to his close disciples. And so Jesus says, to you it has been given to know the mysteries, right? The occult science, but to them it has not been given. So basically he was telling them, I speak to you in the words, in the language that you can understand, but to them, I have to talk to them in symbols and parables, because they don't know the language yet. They don't know the secret teachings. And so that's what Gnosis is, right? Gnosis is referred to as the occult tradition, the secret tradition, the secret teaching, the secret science. as St. Paul referred to Gnosis, the secret science, or the sacred science. Okay, and so then this is a type of science that is not studied or is not understood or comprehended or experienced by reading books. Okay, Gnosis and true esoteric and spirituality is about personal experience, right? The concepts of God, the concepts of the soul, concepts about the creation of the universe, concepts about the different dimensions of space, those are all concepts, those are all theories, and they really don't mean anything unless we experience them. And that's why in Gnosis, we're interested in, as we explored in the past 4 classes, we're interested in the awakening of the consciousness, the awakening and the development of your spiritual nature, so that you can begin to experience, right, those realities. I just saw this very funny meme, that it was a donkey with a bunch of books on top, right, carrying a bunch of books, and the message was, a donkey carrying a bunch of books is still a donkey, right? And that's our mind. You can read the entire theosophical library. You can read all the books of Master Samael, all of the sacred texts. That doesn't mean that you're an occultist. That doesn't mean that you actually know anything. The only thing that it means is that you've read a lot of things, you have a lot of theories, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have experienced any of it, right? And that's what we really care about in Gnosis. We care about the awakening. We care about people. We want people to awaken and have a direct experience of God, a direct experience of, the astral world and so forth, right? That's why in Gnosis, we don't debate the teachings. We simply give the teachings. And if you feel like they resonate with you and you can put them into practice, you put them into practice, and then they give you an experience, and great, and then you move forward, right? So in this sense, Gnostics in general, if you study history, Gnostics sort of always kept to themselves. When someone came in, they asked them about them, they would say who they were, and they would say, what their beliefs were, as opposed to the other sort of exoteric aspect of religions that are always sort of like knocking on your door and trying to convince you to come on their side and that kind of stuff, right? Because Gnostics always understood that spirituality and the experience of God is a very personal thing, and that God will talk to each one of us in a different way. God will talk to you. If you're a Hindi, he will talk to you and manifest himself with your own language, with your own symbols. He will present himself to you as Krishna. He would present himself to a Westerner as Jesus, or as Moses, right, and so forth. God, the Spirit, will take any shape that he needs to take in order to help us grow, right? And so that is occult science, and that's why we emphasize right here that occult science is studied in the internal worlds. And when we talk about the internal worlds, we talk about those dimensions of space that are here and now, that are not easily perceivable through our 5 senses. So in other words, there are, as we mentioned in I believe it was class number 10, we talked about the 4th dimension. We said there are different dimensions. And the only reason why we don't perceive them is because we don't have our physical senses trained enough to perceive those dimensions, right? Right now, there are spectrums of light, sounds that are all over the room that you cannot perceive. Doesn't mean that they're not there, right? And so there are beings, there are entire environments, worlds, universes that are here and now vibrating. All of the atoms, all of the cells that form that organism, or those planets, are here and now, but they're vibrating at such a high speed that we cannot see them with the naked eye. We cannot hear them with our ears. We cannot touch them with our 5 senses, right? With our sense of touch. And so we say, oh, that doesn't exist, right? But that's not reality. And now science has been able to prove that, right? And so then God is the same thing. God is a level of being, is a state of being, is a state of manifestation of life. Gods, angels, devas, ascended masters are all vibrating at states that we don't recognize them, that we cannot see them. So right now there could be, as a matter of fact, there are, as you hear in different traditions, like when someone passes away, they'll tell you, oh, he's always there with you. And that's true. They're always here, right? We are walking around with people that are dead and people that are alive, meaning people that have physical bodies and people that don't have physical bodies. Masters that no longer have a physical body, but they're still there present. And they talk to you in your dreams. And sometimes you're not even aware of their presence. Sometimes you wake up and you have this idea, you have this emotion, you're inspired to do something. And who put that idea in your mind? Who inspired you to do that? There's a very interesting movie related to this. It's called Inception. And they explore this concept of, can you go into someone's dream and then implant an idea into the person's head, right? And this is actually what's happening to us every night. Every night that we fall asleep, our soul leaves our body and we're moving in this world, but in its fifth dimensional aspect, which is what we call the astral plane, the astral world. And in this astral world, we're going about having conversations with ourselves or with other people. And it's clear when you wake up sometimes and you had, let's say, an argument with someone in your dream, how do you wake up? How do you feel? Don't you feel like that just really happened? You're emotionally, you feel emotionally like you were just experiencing that in the real world, right? And it's hard to shake those emotions sometimes, right? And so this is why it's so important to begin to pay attention to our dreams, and why psychologists like Carl Gustav Jung and Sigmund Freud began to pay a lot of attention to people's dreams, because they realized that they had a therapeutic aspect to them, right? And so that's one of the benefits of triggering lucid dreams. When you are able to trigger a lucid dream, you can basically do anything in the dream, right? You gain control of the dream, and you can use the dream to as a form of therapy. And they actually do that here in New York City. New York City is the city that has the most sleep clinics around the world, where they try to teach people to lucid dream and to heal themselves through the dreams. Imagine if you have a fear of public speaking, for instance. All of a sudden, in a dream, if you trigger a dream, you can create a scenario where you see yourself on stage and you begin to give a speech. And then you can begin to bring in, your family members sitting on the crowd. And then you can bring in their friends and strangers. And all of a sudden, you're giving a speech to a big crowd. And if you do this over and over again, you begin to lose the fear, right, of public speaking. And so this is sort of one of the therapeutic aspects of lucid dreams. There are so many things that we can heal: phobias, traumas, you name it, with lucid dream. One of the most interesting things that happen when people have an astral unfolding, a conscious astral unfolding, and they have the concepts of being a soul, you can, one of the things that happens is that the person starts to lose the fear of death. And that makes you a fearless person in life. It helps you develop courage and self-confidence and all these wonderful things, right? And so anyway, and you obviously, when you're in this world, you begin to now, out of your five senses, your other senses open up, your inner chakras open up, your clairvoyance, your intuition, your telepathy opens up. And now you're able to talk to angels, talk to masters, talk to, your favorite deity, whether it's Jesus or the Buddha. You can invoke them and they can give you teachings, right? And so that's what true Gnosis is, right? That's why, that's what we care about. We don't care about how many books you've read, how many theories you've accumulated. We care about what's your actual experience. Have you ever talked to God? Have you ever talked to an enlightened master? And if so, what did they say? I'm interested, right? In his book, The Secret History of the World, Mark Booth says, could it be that it is not so much that genius is next to madness, but that genius is next to altered states brought about by esoteric training? In his book, he proposes that most of the people, and he gives a list of the most influential people in history in the different fields, religion, philosophy, politics, art, architecture, you name a person in history, George Washington, Napoleon, Tesla, who else? Da Vinci. All of these people were deeply into esoteric teachings. And in these esoteric teachings, in these so-called esoteric schools or mystery schools, sometimes people there would be initiations in which the initiate, the person being initiated, would go through a ritual that would put him or her into an altered state of consciousness by, whether it was specific rituals or with the use of specific sacred plants, sacred medicines, substances that would put the person into what we call altered state of consciousness. But in Gnosis, we say those substances, those medicines, or those specific meditation, breathing techniques would awaken the person's sixth sense, the person's consciousness, and now they're able to see more than what they were able to experience. And so they were able to see their inner spirit, right? And their inner spirit will give them a teaching. And so it was they were all forms of initiation. And many of these people claim that where they got these ideas from in these altered states. I think I mentioned last week about, there's so many different examples of this, but, I was talking about the scientists, I forgot the name, but the scientists that came up with the table of the elements in science. This, he was thinking about how to arrange these elements in an organized way. And in a dream, he had this vision of the periodic table of elements all arranged by weight and number and I think alphabetical order or something like that. And so he was able to see that. And then when he came back from his dream, when he woke up that morning, he just decided, oh, wow, this is a great idea. He started plotting it all. And he came up with the table of elements. And so my question is, who gave him that idea? Was it his mind, or obviously it was something that he picked up from what we call the universal mind, right? That we picked up from the cosmic from the cosmic mind, right? And we have many other examples. Just study the lives of the different spiritual masters. They say all the time in the Bible, and then I was taken in my spirit, right? God took me in my spirit. And I had a vision of this and that. And so all of those are experiences, right? That are brought about by, as Mark Booth says here, geniuses or new ideas come because of altered states of consciousness brought about esoteric training, right? And so then again, Master Samuel Weor emphasizes, whoever awakens the consciousness stops dreaming and becomes a competent investigator of the superior worlds. And that's what we're interested here in Gnosis. We want to awaken our consciousness to stop dreaming, right? And become conscious and competent investigators of the superior worlds. So a person that awakens his or her consciousness no longer needs a physical teacher, no longer needs a physical school. They no longer need a church that they have to go, right, to serve as an intermediary between them and God, right? And that's another sort of, that's the main reason why, the main distinction between Gnostics and Catholics or Christians, regular Christians. The Gnostics were teaching people, you don't need a church You don't need to pay them. You don't need to go to their sermons to connect with God. All you need is the right techniques. Once you need someone to teach you those techniques. Obviously, we all need some form of initiation, some form of physical master, but not forever. And that's the point, right? You need someone to teach you the basics. And once you begin to awaken consciousness, it's your choice if you want to continue under that master, or you can continue your own path on your own, right? Which is, again, and in parentheses here, one of the things that I feel that people are missing in the new age spirituality. Everyone has this notion that I don't need anyone. I don't need a master. All I need is books, because I'm smart enough and I can read books and blah, blah, blah. But everyone needs a master. Everyone needs at least a guide to give us to teach us how to read certain things. Because every time that you pick up a book, whether you like it or not, you're reading the book with whatever perception you have about life. And there are things about the book that you will agree with, things that you will disagree with, or things that you will simply not understand or think you understand, but you really don't, right? And so everyone needs to be initiated. Everyone needs to connect with what's called the tradition, which is basically the tradition teaches you how to look at things from a different perspective, right? To take you outside of your own little bubble and tell you, hey, step out of that bubble for a moment. And what if you analyze things from this perspective? How would that affect you? And how would that change your perspective? And so that's what initiation is all about. And the Gnostic initiation is through astral travels. We're not, in Gnosis, we don't, we're not going to give you any substances. We want you to, through your own means, allow your being to initiate you. And this is another form. And so this is another way of initiation, right? It's to, when you're able to experience the mysteries on your own. All right, so let me share this next slide. Where is it? There it is. Why can't I see it? Oh, it's over here hiding. There we go. Okay. So this is actually part of lesson 31 of the program. We're skipping ahead a little bit because you guys were interested in this topic. So, all right. So this is the quote that I read before. And let's begin by exploring the question of, or exploring what a human being is. According to all of the different traditions, the human being is a triad of spirit, soul or psyche, and body, right? We have a physical body, but we are a spirit, okay? We are not a body with a spirit or with a soul, okay? We need to shift that perception, okay? At some point in time, we as spirits decided to manifest in the physical world. And for that, we needed a physical body. So we came into this physical body, okay? You were before you existed, okay? And this is why one of the most powerful statements in the Bible is, I am, right? And there's a difference between I am and I exist. To exist is a temporary expression of who you are, which is spirit, okay? So we are spirits, and we have a soul, which is like a psychology. A soul is a body of perceptions, a body of values, of powers, of attributes of spirit, okay? So remember, the word soul is translated in the Greek language as psyche, and we say we have a psychology, right? We identify ourselves as being physical beings with a psychology, okay? But rather, we are spirits who manifest themselves, okay? We all manifest ourselves in specific ways through this physical body in this physical world, okay? And the mind, our minds, our mental states, our emotional states influence the way in which this spirit manifests here in the physical world, okay? So that's a very important distinction, and it requires, again, that we shift our perception of the world and of life, okay? The soul has, you can say, different bodies. The soul has a mental body. The soul has the soul has a physical body, which allows the spirit to move and manifest, express, and perceive things that are happening here in this three-dimensional world, okay? But there is a fourth dimensional aspect of the universe, a fifth dimensional aspect, a sixth, seventh, and so forth, all the way to the 13th dimension. And so the astral body is a body that the soul uses to move through the different dimensions, starting from the fourth all the way up to the sixth or seventh dimension. After that, you have to let go of your astral body and just go into the spirit realm as pure essence or soul, okay? That's something else I will talk more in depth about later, okay? This astral body has a specific type of nourishment. The word astral comes from the word astros, and the word astros means stars, right? Or suns. So it is the world of the light of the stars. Okay, you also find the word astrology from this word astros, meaning that this is the dimension or the world where the energy of the stars, the energies of the spirit, right? Because the suns always represent, right, spirit, is manifested, is accessible, okay? And so the astral body is a body of light. It's a body, we can call it our sidereal body, the body composed of the energies of the stars, okay? And this is directly related to our sexual energy. And this is why one of the techniques, the practices that I'm going to give you is related to sexual transmutation, okay? In order to be able to travel and to get in touch with this world, with this astral world, that will depend not only on what you do physically, but also on the state of your sexual energy and how you work with your sexual energy, okay? Again, this is why we give this class usually all the way at the end, because there's so many things that we have to talk about before we get there, but this will be like a crash course, okay? So let's begin first with, so the astral world, as I said, is referred to as the dream world. It's the fifth dimension, okay? This is a place that we go to when we're dreaming. This is a place where our mental projections, so-called dreams, manifest or crystallize, okay? This is why a dream is very real when we're in the middle of it. What happens is that in this dimension, in this fifth dimension, anything that you think crystallizes. It is like instant manifestation, okay? In the physical world, it takes a little bit longer. It's a little harder for our thoughts to manifest, right? You have to, you have to think of something first, and then those thoughts, those ideas become thoughts, those thoughts become emotions, those emotions trigger action, and then action is what crystallizes whatever it is that you visualized, right? And in the dream world, you skip the physical creation. The mind automatically projects everything out onto the environment, because matter vibrates at a more subtle level than it does here in the physical world. And that explains dreams. Every time, every night you leave your body, unconsciously you fall into a dream and you're moving around in a dream, unaware of the fact that you're in a dream, and you are a victim of your own creation, right? Oddly enough, this is actually what's happening to us now during our waking life. And that's why in the previous classes, we were saying that we need to awaken consciousness here and now. We need to make sure that our consciousness is fully awakened and not our mind that's just sort of moving us around mechanically. So in this world, our mind projects, right, everything, and so you're trapped in that in your dream. I wanted to emphasize, and here's the tantric relationship between dreams and our lives. Anytime that you manifest something, remember, as we've been saying, the sexual energy is that libido energy that Sigmund Freud talks about. It is the only energy that creates anything in your life. When you buy a car, when you build a house, when you draw, when you create a song, all of those are expressions or creations of your sexual energy, okay? And so we use our sexual energy to create and manifest things outside into the world, but we can also use the sexual energy to manifest and to create things inside of ourselves in our inner world, okay? And that's why if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, Krishna, who represents the Logos, he's the equivalent of the Christ in the Vedic tradition. He represents the sun, right? The Astros. Again, he says, I am the seed or virility in you. I am sex, which is not contrary to religion. In other words, what he's saying is, I am the sexual energy in you, but I am I am sex, which is not contrary to religion. The word religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to reunite, to relink. Also, the word yoga comes from the word yug, which means the same thing, to relink, to reunite. And so Krishna is saying, I am sexuality, which is not contrary to your reunion with divinity. And so, of course, what we can assume, if we fill in the blanks, we can assume that there's a type of sexuality that is contrary to religion. There's a type of sexuality that severs, that disconnects, and there's a type of sexuality that connects, right? And that's why in the different spiritual traditions, there's always the sacrament of marriage, and sexuality is looked upon as something very sacred and something to be practiced among two beings that love each other, right? And love is a fundamental aspect in practicing what we call sexual alchemy, because love is that superior emotion that brings us to unity, right? That makes us feel one with the other person, with those around us, as opposed to lust, for instance, which is just mere sexual instinctive desire, in which there is not necessarily any love. There's just my selfish desire to please my senses. And it has nothing to do with the other person. And that's why we resort to even objects to please ourselves. And we actually use others as objects to please ourselves. Whether, you know, we like to admit that or not, and I think we all have had this experience. Sometimes you've most likely made love to someone, and a lot of the times you simply have sex, right? Where it's more of a physical connection, but not so much a spiritual connection, right? And so this is very important, because Krishna says, I am the seed or virility in you. So he's saying, I am the source of virility. I am the source of vitality within you, right? And so this is where the tantric teachings come in. How can we use and work with that energy in a way that brings more vitality, more virility, more consciousness, right? Okay, and so this is why sexual transmutation is going to be your first key to prepare yourself to awaken in the astral world. And so there's a we say that there is a sacred or ethical way to use our sexual energy, which is obviously to not merely waste this energy. I'm sorry, I think, let me make sure that I'm sharing the right screen with you. Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry, this is the screen that I meant to share. Thank you for pointing that out, Adina. So I was giving you guys this, I was saying that we're spirit, soul, body, and so forth, and this is the astral body side. So you can see this, the Trinity, right? Human beings, a trinity of spirit, soul, and body. And so the astral world is that fifth dimension. And the first clue in order to connect with the astros is to connect with the essence, to begin to work with his essence, with the essence of the astros, the essence of light, which is your own sexual energy, okay? And so this is why in every spiritual tradition, there is talk of chastity or something that in yoga they call brahmacharya. Okay, let me share this other screen with you. Last week or last time, I believe I talked about the 8 limbs of yoga. Okay, because all of these paths connect to each other, and I said that we were talking about vipassana meditation right on Wednesday, and I said that there are 6 phases of meditation. The first, asana, related to the physical body, body posture, relaxation of the body. Pranayama, which is pranayama is related to the breath work that we have to do, which I'm also going to give you some breathing techniques to awaken consciousness and to unfold. Concentration, pratyahara, which is abstraction of the senses, which is your ability to concentrate into your own inner world and eliminate distractions. Concentration, meditation, and samadhi, which is ecstasy, mystical ecstasy, rapture, right? There are 2 other, or we can say 8 other requirements before the practice of true yoga, which is interesting. One of those is brahmacharya, and it's referred to as retention of sexual energy. In other words, to stop abusing or misusing the sexual energy. And when are we misusing the sexual energy? Well, you're misusing the sexual energy in various ways, but the most powerful way in which we misuse or waste our sexual energy is, like I said before, when we're using the sexual energy to merely satisfy our most instinctive desires. Whenever you're sexually aroused, it is your body. Okay, we have to distinguish between natural sexual appetite, that we are sexual beings, right? And our body craves that craves sexuality in the same way that your body craves physical food. You get hungry for sex, and so there are 2 ways to nourish that craving. One is through the practice of sexual alchemy properly with your spouse or with your partner, through the union of body, emotions, mind, and spirit, right? We're uniting with love. And then the other way is as a single person through specific techniques of transmutation and what's referred to as pranayama, different breathing techniques that help you to transmute all of that desire into love, okay? And this is the source of mystical ecstasy. When you learn to use your sexual energy to transmute that sexual energy, it unites you with your higher self, and you experience love. If you simply go and masturbate, and I'm going to speak clearly, if you simply go and masturbate, what you're doing is you're releasing that energy. And this is what we're used to, because this is what society told us to do, and this is what we saw our friends do, and this is how we think we should use sexuality, right? Because there's this buildup of energy, and when the energy builds up, you get anxious, and what do you want to do? You just want to release that energy, right? So what we're saying in the tantric tradition, the yogic tradition, is that there are ways for you to nourish yourself with that energy without releasing it out into the world. And that's through specific breathing techniques. That's where, you know, exercise, yoga comes into play, and all these kinds of things. The most powerful one is pranayama. Okay, harnessing pranayama is the it says here, hold on, some of the slides. Pranayama is the practice of with the practice of pranayama, the mind of the student is prepared for concentration, meditation, and samadhi. Pranayama comes from the word prana, breath, breath of life, power, life energy, spirit, wind, vigor, or vitality, as Krishna was saying, right? And so pranayama is the harnessing of the life force energy within the body, okay? So harnessing the wind or harnessing the life force energy. So the practice of pranayama is the harnessing of literally the vitality within you, the life force energy that is within you. And so what you're doing is, instead of expelling the energy through normal orgasm, what we do is we channel this energy inside, breathing in, we bring it all the way up to the top of the head, and we release that energy down into the heart, right? And so instead of releasing through orgasm, we turn that into transmutation, which brings a sensation of bliss throughout your entire body, and what they call samadhi, which is a supraconscious state, a blissful state, or a state of ecstasy, right? This is an exercise that we practiced before. It's called the practice of pranayama. We've done this before. It's also called alternate breath. And so what we do is we breathe through the nostrils. Men and women start inhaling through different nostrils. Men start inhaling through the right nostril. We inhale deep, hold for a long time, for as much as you can, and then through the left nostril, you begin to exhale slowly. Close. Then you inhale again through that same nostril. Hold. Exhale. Okay. And then you do that over and over again. You can do that for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. The more sexual energy that you have, the longer that you need to do the practice. And then you sit down in meditation. Okay. Women start inhaling with the left nostril, right? And then through the right. I do have a video on my YouTube page that explains this exercise more in depth. And also I have a post on Instagram that explains all of this. And I think most of you that are here now that have been in previous classes are familiar with this exercise. We've done it a few times, right? Okay, so that's one of the techniques that you're going to use to begin to awaken your consciousness in the astral world, okay? As you elevate, as you work with this sexual energy, all of your bodies, your internal, your physical body, your vital body, your astral body will begin to nourish themselves with this powerful sexual energy, which is solar energy. We call it the sexual hydrogen C12, okay? This is the energy, this is the entity that your body or a substance, an energy that your body creates when it transforms foods, okay? When you eat an apple, when you eat something, your body takes that through the process of digestion, okay? Metabolism. What does it do? It breaks that apple down into glucose. That glucose is turned into energy in the body. That energy is sexual energy. That energy is vitality. And so we say that everything that you eat is synthesized in sexual energy. Everything that you eat, it creates more libido, okay? And there are things that we eat and that we take in that influence the vitality and the power of your libido and there are things that weaken the libido. Okay, there are things like alcohol, certain drugs, all of those things, like non-organic food, what's it called? Trash food, McDonald's, Wendy's, all that kind of stuff, right? It has very low levels of vitality because it's not pure food, right? We need to also, fast food, that's what I mean. Fast food, processed food, you shouldn't need anything that comes in a box, period. If you can, sometimes we struggle in life financially and we have to eat whatever we have to stay alive, and that's fine. But as much as you can, right? Clean water, pure water, pure air, right? People like us that live in big cities, the air is also a type of nourishment. And so that's why it's good to go out into nature as much as you can. And when you're in nature, you feel more vitality, right? Because your sexual potency is being nourished, right? And so if you have more libido, you can have more consciousness, more awareness. And as you begin, this gives you the ability to be more present, more aware, to be in that third state of consciousness that we talked about in the past few classes, where your mind is, you're here fully aware, awake, right? And as you awake here in the physical world, you begin to awake in the superior dimensions, in the astral world. This is why we have the key of soul that we talked about before, subject, object, location. Every moment in your day, ask yourself, where am I? What am I doing? Right? Right now, what are you doing? Are you here, present, focused, attentive on what I'm saying, on what you're learning? Or are you half here and half in the past, half in the future, and so forth? We need to be here, present, with full awareness, right? Location or object. What am I doing? Be aware of what you're doing. I'm sitting, I'm listening, right? Feel your body, feel your emotions, feel your mind here. Location, where am I? And this not only includes our immediate surroundings, but what dimension am I in? Right now, are you dreaming or are you in the three-dimensional world? How can you be so sure? When you're in your dreams, you're 100%, you think 100% that you are in the real world, in the three-dimensional world. But you notice that random things happen in the world, in the dream world. You can fly, you can levitate, right? Random things happen. You're in one scene and all of a sudden you're in another scene. And we just go around like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Just consciously asleep, right? If something like that happened in the physical world, if all of a sudden you're in your living room and then you walk into your kitchen and you find yourself in a beach, you'd be like, whoa, how the hell did I get here, right? You would ask yourself that. In the dream world, we don't do that. If you begin to do that, you'll begin to realize, oh, wait a second, I was in my living room. How am I here? I must be dreaming. But you will only trigger that. And that's a way to trigger a lucid dream. You only trigger that in your dream if you're doing it here and now. If you are in your living room and then you walk around your house and all of a sudden you're in your bedroom and you say, wait, how did I get here? Why did I come into this room? Ever happened to you? You go into a room and you go there and you're like, why did I get in here? Why did I come here for? Right? Happens to all of us. It just shows you our unconscious state, right? And so what we need to do is to be completely conscious of every moment. Okay, I'm here now. I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I'm conscious as I go to the bathroom. When I get to the bathroom, I know that I make a conscious decision to go to the bathroom. And when I'm there, I ask, how did I get here? And so train yourself to do a little, what we call a retrospective exercise. I hope you're writing all of this down because I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. Key of soul, okay? Ask whether you're dreaming or whether you're in the physical world. Pull your finger, okay, in the physical world, check yourself. If you pull your finger like every hour, every 2 hours, say, let me check if I'm in the physical world. And you do this, you pull your finger with the intention of really pulling your finger. You'll notice that something interesting happens in your dreams, okay? And you'll come back and tell me what happens later. Try to jump as if you wanted to levitate, to hold yourself in the air. Okay, do that every 2 hours. Okay, don't do it in the subway because they'll think you're crazy. But you know, do it when you get out of bed, jump a little bit and say, hey, where am I? Am I still dreaming or am I still here? Okay, it sounds silly, but what I'm telling you works. Okay, I've tried it, it works. In other words, don't assume that you are in the physical world. Okay, don't assume that you are in the physical reality and you're awake. Okay, always assume that you could be dreaming in this moment. How do you know? In the dream world, everything seems very real until the moment you wake up. Okay, and when we die, even though we don't like to think about death, you will wake up and you'll say, wow, that was a horrible dream. Let me go try another planet. um, just have a comment here. Does sugar increase the libido? No, it actually decreases libido. Try not to eat too many sugars. Try to have a light meal before you go to bed. Refrain from alcohol. Refrain from smoking as much as you can. This is like a course like any other. And so like in anything, you need training, right? So give yourself 3 months of complete abstinence, 3 months of abstinence from sex, from drugs, from alcohol, and just meditate, and you'll see what happens. The first few weeks, you're gonna get very anxious and you're gonna hate me. But then the more that happens, you need to meditate more and do more pranayama, and then you're going to begin to feel very light. You're going to feel lighter and lighter. And then you'll begin to wake up in the astral world. And then you're never gonna go back to your life, and it'll be like a cleansing as well. Okay, so I was gonna give you another key, the retrospective exercise, okay? Every moment in your life, ask yourself, how did I get here? And just backtrack your steps a little bit, okay? Right now I'm here, where was I before I came here? Okay, I went and I got some water, I put the cup here. Before that, I used the restroom, and now I'm here. Okay, boom. Can you do that? Can you go back 10, 20, well, 10 minutes? Yeah, you've been sitting for more than an hour here with me now. How do you wake up, right? And so forth, okay? Do that throughout the day. And you will begin to do that in your dreams. And when you're dreaming, you'll notice that you'll do that and you say, oh, wait a second. Actually, I'm dreaming. Because if I was just in my living room, there's no way I'm in Hawaii right now, okay? If you're really unconscious, you'll continue, okay, yeah, that's normal. And then we need to do more work here in the physical world. Stephanie says, I woke up the other day in this world and I was 100% and was 100% that nothing was real. Yeah. And when you begin to have a true astral unfolding, you really begin to question whether which world is more real. Is the astral world real or is this more real? That's what the movie The Matrix is all about. Which world is real? Which one is the real world? Is it the Matrix or is it the real world? So yeah, I'm glad you're asking yourself that question. Because when you die, again, you're going to be very disappointed at the fact that this was not the real world. All right, so let me just sort of go through all of this. There is something that we call unconscious astral projections, which are lucid dreams, where basically you unconsciously leave your body and then you're dreaming, and then in the dream you wake up and you realize, I'm dreaming. I can invoke Jesus, I can invoke the Buddha, I can invoke God and ask him the big questions of life. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's the purpose of my life? What should I do? And so forth, right? These answers can come to you in your dreams. Then there is the conscious unfolding, which is when you consciously lay down and you begin to work, you begin to meditate, and then you consciously step out of your body. You step out, you can see your body there, and then you get freaked out because you think you died, and whoop, you get sucked back into your body. Okay, so don't worry, that happens. The way to do that is we can go to bed chanting different mantras. I really recommend the mantra Fa, Ra, On. Okay, and we're doing this practice now with some students where this is a wonderful practice to do. Sleep for about 4 or 5 hours. Wake up around 3 in the morning because at this moment, The pineal gland is producing tons of DMT after being in dark for over 3 or 4 hours. Okay. Go to sleep around 11:30 or 10:30. 10:30 is best. The earlier you go to bed, the better. Let's say go to bed at 10:30, wake up at 2:30. Wake up from your bed, sit down, do a few breathing exercises to relax yourself, and begin to chant this mantra. Faraon. Faraon. Okay, the on activates the anahata chakra, which gives us the ability to astral project. Ra collects the sun, the forces of the sun Ra. Okay, it's the Egyptian god Ra, the god of the sun. Okay, and Fa is the sacred fire that we have within us. Okay, it activates the fire. And so you do that for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you sing that mantra, and then you slowly go back to bed, face up, you lay down, and then you continue to chant the mantra with your mind as you lull yourself to sleep. When you begin to feel that your body begins to vibrate intensely, get up from your bed, okay? Don't think about getting up. Don't imagine yourself getting up. Just get up, okay? If you've reached a level of the correct level, you're going to reach this level where your body falls asleep, but you're not consciously asleep. And so that part of the brain related to sleep shuts down the body, and then you can actually step out of your body, okay? Try that. Or you might even find yourself sort of floating above. You'll feel yourself floating above your body. When that happens, open your eyes and just fly, okay? I usually like to just leave through my window and fly up towards, up towards the sky. And at that moment, when you're there, when you're conscious that you're flying, pray to your inner being, to your inner spirit, and say, my Father, my being, my spirit, please take me to a sacred temple. Please, teach me something about myself, whatever you want to do, okay? Don't use this practice to go and do stupid stuff, because you're really gonna waste your time. When you trigger a lucid dream, you can literally do anything, and your ego is gonna want to do many things, but we're here to awaken consciousness. So there's a whole ethical concept to this. Try to be as ethical as possible. Don't go and spy on your ex-girlfriend or your ex-boyfriend or any of that sort of thing. Use this to really investigate, right, the mysteries of life. How do you feel about hypnosis? I usually do meditation and then fall asleep to a hypnosis. Yeah, that's kind of what we're entering into here. You putting yourself in that sort of state of being where you're sort of half asleep but still awake, and then the subconscious opens up and you can see many things. It could also be very scary for people, because in these states we can also begin to see our shadow. We can begin to see our demons, and it could be very scary. But always go towards the light. Okay, always imagine a bright sun, fly towards the sun, fly towards the moon. Imagine beings of light. That's another aspect of the work that we have to talk to, and we'll get to it. Okay. There are other mantras, La, Ra, and Egipto. This mantra, Egipto, which is Egypt in Spanish, it actually prepares your body for the practice of astral projection. So I recommend you do this mantra before you go to bed at night. This mantra awakens or activates your inner your chakras. Okay, you go Egipto, Egipto. Okay, you sing that 5-10 minutes before you go to bed. And then when you go to bed, you practice this mantra as you're falling asleep. Have an intention before the practice of astral travel. What do I want to do? What's the purpose of me leaving my body? If I ask you right now, where would you go if you left your body? Think about it. You should have intention, right? You fall to sleep with the intention of going to a place, you fall asleep with the intention of talking to Jesus, of talking to the Buddha, of talking to Krishna, right? Of going towards, you know, even if it's just flying outside of planet Earth, you want to see planet Earth. You want to make sure it's round and it's not flat, as some people still believe out there. No offense if you do, if you know, that's fine. You won't know until you actually fly out of the planet and you actually see it. Okay. So preparation, I've been giving you lots of preparation, right? Awaken the consciousness in the physical world. That's what we were talking about in the previous classes. Self-remembering, which is mindfulness. Always be conscious and mindful everywhere that you are. Check yourself, check your reality, be aware of what you're feeling, be aware of your thoughts. Be conscious of your thoughts. Stop thinking all the time. Yeah, take moments to just sit in a chair and just look outside your window and look at the tree and look at the branches moving, listen to the birds singing. You know, that's a wonderful thing to do that we used to do more often. I know I did it when I lived in Colombia and I went to visit my grandfather, and he lived in a very small village. I would just sit there and just look at the trees and look at the birds and just chill, you know. Right now, we talked about the necessity to practice silence, and we've lost our ability to be in silence. We're afraid of silence. We're uncomfortable just being with ourselves. We're uncomfortable just being in silence. You can't just sit in your living room and just stare up at a corner in your room. You have to be on your phone. You have to be on the TV. We constantly have to be engaged in something, right? Distracted. Okay. And then the next one, very important, cultivate superior emotions, okay? Be happy. Try to be in a loving, blissful state most of the time. Just be happy, okay? Count your blessings. Be grateful for the things that you have. Yes, there are bad things happening in the world. There are negative things that happen, or, you know, I don't like to say negative things, just difficult or challenging circumstances. But I'm still alive, you know, you're healthy, you have a roof over your head, you have food, right? There are many things that you can feel grateful for. So cultivate superior emotions. These superior emotions nourish the chakras, okay? And the chakras are the senses of the astral body. Healthy body, healthy chakras, and the cultivation of superior emotions influence, right, our states of being. This accumulates astral light. The astral world is the world of emotions, okay? So when you are experiencing superior emotions, love, bliss, peace, serenity, you are harnessing that astral light into your body, okay? Okay. I think that's it. Use your creative imagination, okay? We have what we call mechanical imagination and creative imagination. Your imagination is always going mechanically, thinking about nonsense. Take control of your imagination. And this is why the wonderful practices of visualization are wonderful, and they help us in this process. Sit there, visualize, right? See yourself in a beautiful beach, walking around, swimming, flying through mountains, you know, walking around the pyramids, if that's a place that you like. Use that conscious imagination to see, to feel yourself there, right? And you'll find yourself being projected there when you fall asleep, okay? Okay, what else? Any questions, any comments before we do a practice?
One question.
Yes.
Okay, does it really matter significantly which side of the nose you are practicing for the pranayama for like the single persons?
Does it matter which nostril you're breathing? Is that the question?
Yes. Like, let's say you concentrate on the left more than the right for like the majority of the time, or just as long as you're doing the practice, is it okay? Like, just continue doing it? Let's say
Yeah, yeah. The left, not the two nostrils are related um, to the lunar and solar channels within us, right? The masculine and feminine energies and forces that we have within ourselves. They're also related to, so your nostrils are connected to your sexual organs, right? To the testicles in men and the ovaries in women. Okay, in men, the right nostril is connected to the left testicle and vice versa. In women is reversed. Okay, the left is the solar channel. Is, you can say the solar is masculine and lunar is feminine. So if you're doing pranayama and you're focusing on the solar channel mostly, then that means that you're sort of identifying yourself mainly with the masculine energy moving through you. Okay, and if you're sort of aligning with the feminine and you're visualizing or conscious of the lunar channel, right? And that's sometimes, and the purpose of pranayama is to balance these two energies, right? To balance the masculine and feminine within us, so that we can be balanced human beings. We all need a healthy, balanced expression of the masculine and the feminine within us, right? Masculine is activity, projection, action. The feminine is receptive, emotion, right? The masculine is more thought, right? And we need to balance those two, right? There are some men that are more masculine. There are some women that are more feminine in nature. And, you know, there are many things that influence that, our upbringing and all these kinds of things. You know, your astrological sign, your birth chart, all of these different influences. But we all need balanced, healthy expressions of the inner masculine and feminine, right? A woman, for instance, can be in their masculine when she needs to stand on her ground, right? Be stern. And a man can be in his healthy feminine when he is receptive, when he is open, right? When he is in a loving state, right? And so again, it's not like men are just supposed to align themselves in the masculine and women with the feminine. We need to find that perfect balance. So yeah, the practice of pranayama helps us to balance those energies and to nourish ourselves with that Christic energy that comes from the astros. Okay, so that's the practice. One pranayama is you inhale deep, hold, exhale through the other nostril. Hold, again, inhale. Hold, and then exhale. That's one pranayama. As you do this practice, imagine your sexual energy rise in the form of a fiery serpent through your spinal column, nourishing your chakras up to the head, and then that energy descends to the heart. Okay? And then you do this over and over again. The best way to practice this is to count, to time your inhalations. Begin with inhalations of about, if you can take deep breaths and hold the breath, go for longer. Do like 8 seconds, where you inhale for 8 seconds and you hold the breath for 16 seconds. So you do double that, okay? And then you exhale for another 16 seconds, okay? Or you can go to 10 and 20, 12, 24, or 5 and 10, whatever you're comfortable with, okay? You want to choose a number, and it's good to have like an analog clock where you can hear like the seconds go. I have like 3 clocks around the house. And so I sit there and I can hear 1, 2, 3, right? So it's all about like timing, and you sync up with a particular rhythm, okay? So if you're comfortable, you do 5, inhale for 5, hold for 10, and then slowly release for 10 seconds, okay? It's wonderful to do this practice at sunrise in the morning. Don't do this practice too much at night, because it's sexual transmutation, so it wakes you up. Okay. And then just meditate for a few moments, meditate on the chakras, meditate on the heart, just do the Om a few times, sort of bring all that energy to the heart. The mantra On, O-N, instead of O-M, activates the Anahata chakra, the heart chakra. So after you're done with that, just do On, On, On. Okay, and I've given some practices for, to activate the different chakras and some of the meditations that we did this week. So again, you can go to, I have a few on YouTube and on Instagram. You can check those out. What else? Oh, the practice. Yeah, so I talked about the practice of sleeping for about 4 hours, wake up around 2:30. That's if you do that practice for a while, you begin to see results. You wake up, you do the mantras for about 20 minutes, you go back to bed, and and you try to consciously sort of leave your body. Okay, whenever you feel your body becoming very light, and you might begin to feel that your body sort of expands, that's when you're ready. And so without thinking too much about it, just get up from your bed. If you get up and you get up with your physical body, then obviously you're not in your astral body. So just go back to bed and try again. Do it until you find yourself that you left your body. Okay. There's another technique to trigger lucid dreams. Anytime that you wake up during the middle of the night, as soon as you feel yourself coming back to your body and you wake up, don't move. Okay. And there's this technique that you can do where as soon as you feel that you've returned to your body, imagine yourself playing 2 notes in a piano. Okay. And so you leave your hand there on the bed and you start doing this, like ding, 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 ding. And so you imagine yourself playing a piano, okay, physically, until you slowly go back to sleep. And then you just imagine yourself continuing with the finger motion. You let go of the motion physically. You continue in your mind there, playing the piano, and you slowly begin to drift into a dream, okay? And once you get into a dream, you'll notice it'll be like a conscious transition from the state of being awake to the dream. And once you're there, you will open your eyes, and this time you'll be in your astral body, and you'll realize that you're dreaming. Then you can go flying over. I always fly when I'm in the dream, and when I realize that I'm dreaming, I always start flying, because that's just a way to, like just jump with the intention of flying. Okay. I know that a couple of you have practiced this technique and it didn't work, but when I came across this technique, the first night that I practiced it, I triggered a lucid dream. So, and again, there are different things that influence that. I also practice sexual transmutation. And I really started seeing my dreams become more lucid, and I began to unfold in the astral after months of practicing sexual transmutation. Okay. Obviously, in order to do that, you need to refrain from masturbation, and obviously the things that, because we're addicted to that, let go of your pornography, even if it's for 3 months. Okay, try it out. It's not going to kill you. I know it sounds like you're going to suffer without it, but you'll be okay. Just let go of those habits for, I'll give you 3 or 6 months, the longest that you can go. And you'll begin to see that you begin to dream more, and you'll begin to trigger more lucid dreams. Okay. There's also, of course, and next week on Wednesday, we're going to talk about karma. Actually, tomorrow night, we're going to have a conversation with another Gnostic instructor on karma and the law of attraction, because we want to understand more what karma is and how ethics relates to karma and to the law of attraction. Okay. And so anything in life, the more ethical that you are, the more, I'll say, good things that you'll bring into your life. And so Astral unfoldings is the same process. If you unfold to do unethical things, then it's going to be fun for a while, but you're not going to really reap the benefits of this sacred practice. And also your abilities to continue to do that will be shut down by your being, okay? Because your being wants you to awake. Your being doesn't want you to just go and mess around in the astral world. You can still do that here. All right, so, and again, this is why in Gnosis we emphasize so much, right? The work with the sexual energy, you know, having respect for the sexual energy, looking at the sexual energy as something sacred. And the same thing with your body, right? Your body is your temple. Your mind is also, your mental and emotions are something very sacred. All right. Yeah, any more questions, any comments before we do a short meditation practice?
I'd like to point something out, Christian, now that we are talking about the dreaming and the astral world. If you can remind us about the technique of retrospection and the mantras, I think it's La Ras Gaom.
Oh yeah, let me type it in. So Ra Om Ga Om.
La Ra.
Oh, wait a second. I just send that only to one person. Everyone.
La Ras Gaom Raom.
You're combining two mantras. You're combining the La Ras with the Raum Gaum. Yeah. Diane, you have to go. Okay, take care. Sorry you won't stick around for the meditation, but I will have one tomorrow morning. Yeah, so the mantra that I just typed here, Ra Om Ga Om, this mantra helps you to remember your dreams, okay? It's very important. In order to have lucid dreams and to begin to astral unfold, you need to learn first to train yourself to remember your dreams, okay? Thank you for bringing it out, pointing it out, Yvette. It's an important point. And this mantra helps you to remember your dreams. As soon as you wake up, begin to do a retrospective exercise to try to remember anything that you can from the dreams, from the experiences, whether it's the feeling that you woke up with, a color, the last person that you saw in your dream, whatever it is, bring that to your memory and begin to chant Raum Gaum. Okay, you do that over and over again and try really hard to remember what was happening. In some cases, you actually go back into the dream as you're doing these mantras. And that's another technique for lucid dreaming is as soon as you wake up, you try to go back to the dream that you were having. I'm sure this happened to us before, right? You woke up one day and then you fall asleep and then you turn your alarm off and then you go back into the same dream, right? If you train yourself to do that constantly, when you go back, you'll be able to trigger dreams, all right? So yeah, this is one wonderful way to do what we call that retrospective exercise in which you begin to remember your dreams. There's another, I think I missed a couple of questions here. Can pranayama aid in low libido? Yes, for sure. As a matter of fact, I know one person in particular, a man who lost his libido. He was in his late 50s, I believe, mid 50s. And from one day to the other, he lost his libido. And he was concerned, obviously. He went to the doctor. The doctor said, no, that's just what happens to men. And he refused to just take that as a no. And he went into tantric traditions and Taoism, and he looked into transmutation of the sexual energy and the harnessing of the sexual energy. And he started doing some hardcore transmutation pranayama practices, and his sexual potency came back. And he learned about something that we'll talk later, the practice of sexual alchemy, which is to learn how to make love to your partner without losing your sexual energy, okay? And we'll have a special class about that at the end of this program. We give it at the end of the program because there are many things. We want to make sure that before we give you that key, which brings a lot of power, you're able to distinguish between what spiritually is considered being a good and good behavior, and spiritually considered negative behavior or unethical and ethical behavior. We talk about the consciousness and the ego in the Gnostic tradition, and this is what we're referring to. You have to become familiar with what consciousness is and what unconsciousness is, okay? And yeah, this friend of mine who's now well into his 60s continues to practice healthy, sexuality with his partner. So yeah, good point. Someone just mentioned here privately that refraining from alcohol, smoking, fasting, eating healthy, but the libido diminishes sometimes when depression arrives. Yes, you'll notice a direct relationship between the emotions and the sexual energy, which is why I mentioned, and remember that we need to harness positive emotions, okay? Yes, it's very normal for when you are in a negative, experiencing negative emotions, what's happening is that your emotional center is sort of clogged up, okay? And so the light that's coming from the astros, the light that's coming from the top chakras, from the universe, stays there and doesn't reach the physical body or the sexual organs, right? If you look at the chakra system, it's all the way over there. Let me just quickly pull up. I know I have it here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Beth.
Mine in here.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So everyone, look at. Can you point that? Can you bring it to the camera? Yeah. So everyone, look at Yvette and her camera. This is the chakra system, right? At the top, you have the Sahasrara, and the Anahata chakra is the middle chakra related to the heart and emotions, and the Manipura. Okay. This is the emotional. Those two are related to emotion. The energy descends all the way from the top chakra down to the Anahata and Manipura chakra. When these chakras are, we can say, clogged, for lack of a better word, or blocked, the emotion becomes stagnated there in the middle, and it doesn't reach the sexual organs, which is the Swadhisthana or sacral chakra and the Muladhara chakra, okay? And so then, of course, you have less libido, and you have less energy in the physical body. Okay. All right. Thank you, Yvette. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that you were able to experience that. And again, this is why love is so important, right? In the practice of sexual alchemy. In order for alchemy, for transmutation, for astral unfolding, there needs to be love. This is why love is, the most precious and the goal of every spiritual tradition, right? Okay. Oh, Karina, you just joined. Sorry, you missed a lot. Yeah. I'll send you the recording. Okay. Yeah, this class is going a little longer than usual, as I expected, because there's so many things to talk about. But I appreciate your questions, your comments, your feedback. I don't think I'm leaving. I mean, there's, we can continue talking for another 2 hours about this whole topic, but we'll leave it here. I think with the amount of exercises that I've given you, you'll be able to unfold. Obviously, the practice of mindfulness, being as present as you can during the day, meditating as much as you can, all of those things, like I said, refraining from alcohol, smoking, eating healthy, and going to bed on a light stomach. Let your meal be the last one. like around 6 or 8 the latest. Or at least, the best is to go to bed after like 3 or 4 hours after eating. Also decrease your screen time, okay? Because the screen time inhibits the pineal gland, which we need for astral unfolding. So put your phone down, your TV, your laptop after like 8 p.m. or even if you can after 6 p.m. It's very hard to do in the culture, but align yourself with with the natural circadian rhythms. Go to bed early, wake up early. This also leads to better health, to more vitality, and it just makes you feel lighter. And that's what we want. We want to make ourselves feel lighter as much as we can, and that would help in this process of lucid dreams and astral unfoldings. All right. Okay, I'm going to end it here. Thank you all for being here with us, for your questions, for your comments.